You're listening to Wildlife Control Consultant, where we provide research-based information on all things related to vertebrate pest management. Hi everyone, Stephen Vantassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing you another episode of the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast. Hey, glad to have you on board. I hope your week went well. I have still trying digging out, had some, it's been pretty busy, but I think my summer is starting to settle out here a little bit. Things will start slowing down so I can reflect and do some backfilling of some activities. I trust most of you that are watching the podcast are in the thick of it with your businesses, and you're probably going nuts here. Just remember to always take things slow enough. You don't want to get injured out there, and be sure you're careful in terms of your work and recognize you want to think long term here, because your health certainly matters. Do hope you take a few moments, if you would, to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and of course, if you have questions, you can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. If you're wondering what we're all about here with this podcast, well, we're all about technical information related to the control of vertebrate pests. So this is not your ordinary podcast about how to do this, how to do that, although we do get into that from time to time. We tend to be on a little bit more of the obscure, out-of-the-way information that's not something you can ordinarily just obtain through your personal experience. And so we really do some deep dives into some of the literature to kind of give you some background, give you different ways of different perspectives that you hopefully can apply to your business and make money. And of course, even if you're not doing wildlife control for a living, some of this information will certainly help you to be sure that you are applying the control methods appropriately so you can have the best effect. Well, this week, I wanted to talk about a flashlight. Now, flashlights, or I should say spotlights, let me kind of define that for you. A flashlight is something that you're just simply going to hold in your hand. Let me pull one out here. That pull out in your hand, and there we go, where you're just going to be like looking at a closet or making sure you don't slip on something on the floor, something that's close proximity. A spotlight, by contrast, is something where you want to shine a concentrated beam, a bright light at distance so that you don't have to climb a ladder. I hate climbing ladders. I hope you don't hate it as much as I do, but nevertheless, if you don't have to climb a ladder, that's awesome, right? That saves you that safety issue, right? But you need a bright enough light to be sure that you can tell whether that dark spot is either a hole or not. And how do you determine whether something's a hole? Well, it's really quite simple. If you illuminate a dark spot and it reflects back to you, then you know it's a shadow and not a hole. If you shine a light at a dark spot and it stays dark, that is signifying that it's a hole. And so a lot of the work when I was doing field work, I would just check the house from the outside. Wouldn't even need to go inside the structure. I would know where the animals were getting in, and I could just simply do that from the outside. But I required a very powerful spotlight. I was using one that was 1,000,000 candles. I know we're kind of moving away from candela as a measurement of illumination. We're now moving into lumens, is where all that work seems to be done. So finding a spotlight that will throw the concentrated beam carefully enough for you is something that I'm always looking for. And so I was at a company called Batteries Plus, and so I did business there. They're not paying me for this, and so I was doing some work and spending probably more money than I probably should have, maybe. But anyways, the salesperson was kind enough to say, hey, check out this flashlight. Of course, and I'm always interested in spotlights. And so this is called the rechargeable LED spotlight, the Luxpro rechargeable spotlight. And I got it from Batteries Plus. It's a if you're into flashlights, batteries, and all that kind of stuff, it's a place that, it's like a woman going to a sewing place, right? You're always going to find something to buy, right? So anyways, he was kind enough to hand that to me and said, hey, do check it out, do it. And I said, all right, I'm going to do a review on it. So I'm going to give a shout out to him and let him know that I've doing this podcast here again. I did receive this product for free, but there's been no advertising given to me by Batteries Plus. I'm not getting any funding from them, so this again would be welcome to receive it, of course, but nevertheless, the only thing I got this for free. And I pulled it out of the box, and I'm not a big fan of rechargeable flashlights, simply because, or actually even rechargeable spotlights. The reason is because I don't do enough field work now in my present position to do it, because you always have to remember to keep charging everything. However, if those of you that are doing work every day, it's your 5-day week, this is no big deal. I think you will like the fact that it's rechargeable. Let me kind of point out, see how big it is? It's very small. It is not heavy at all. It uses LEDs, so the battery should last pretty well. What I love is if you take off the back, the recharging cord is placed right here. Don't you hate it when you're trying to find the recharging cord? Where did you put it? It packs in right here. Love that. Now, you do have to have the adapter for your USB, or you can just plug it into your computer USB slot. So you do have to have the little square that goes in the top. That doesn't come with the product, but I do love this little spot here where you can push. You don't have to keep looking for your cable. Hate that, but I really love this feature. So this is something that I truly like to see. And again, it is a very light flashlight, not very big. It feels good in your hand. It's got some rubberized plastic to it. And then of course, it is pretty bright. Also comes with a little cover in it. I didn't pull it out. I probably should have done that. If you can see that there, it's a red cover so that if you don't want to lose your night vision, not something that I'm really into, but there's those of you that are involved maybe in hunting and you're doing some light night work and you need to illuminate an area without losing your night vision, then you just pop this on the front of the lens over your spotlight, and that'll help you not lose your night vision with that. It has an interesting stand with it, right? So you have a little holder here, and you can kind of put it down different ways to make sure. Let me kind of turn it on. There you go. It is pretty bright. It is pretty bright at 1,000 lumens, according to the manufacturer label here. It's pretty bright, and you can notice that the dot there is pretty concentrated. It says it throws the light out to 918 feet, according to the label. Now, I checked this out on my own, and during nighttime, it shines really bright. I am very impressed with the illumination. If you're inside of an attic, this is enough illumination, in my opinion. The problem is, if I have to give a negative to it, that is, it's not quite bright enough to illuminate. And my protocol is, can it illuminate the dormer, the shadow under a second floor dormer during daylight hours? And unfortunately, this didn't have enough juice to do it, because it really requires a lot. You really need to have a lens that concentrates that beam, as well as the reflector behind it to concentrate the beam. And then you have to have a bright enough bulb to have it all together. So you really need those three things in combination to really throw it out there. And of course, that really, raises the price, and there's not a huge demand for it. I have found one product. I'll probably do a review of that down the future. So the Luxpro LP880 is, I would call it a middling. It's between a flashlight and a spotlight. It's something for, I maybe call it an indoors spotlight. And so it's really powerful. It's light. It's not that as expensive as I recall, although I didn't see a price. Didn't see a price on it. I didn't think it was outrageous in terms of. I think it has some durability to it, and the fact that it's rechargeable. It even has a place where you can put some lanyards in if you want that, and of course the cool stand if you need to have that illuminate for you in the distance, and it has a spot where you can grab it here. But will it be my go-to spotlight for inspecting structures during the day from the outside? The answer is no, unfortunately. Is it on the path? And my belief is yes. And I would just want to encourage anyone out there who builds lights, wants to do that. In my opinion, I'm always looking for that magical flashlight, or spotlight that will illuminate that second floor dormer area and make it bright like the sun. So I can tell whether that little shadow up there is caused by a squirrel squeaking in or maybe a raccoon squeaking in. That's what I need. I need to be able to do that from the ground. So that's what? 50, 60 feet probably, and you need to have a concentrated beam, somewhere like that, and it needs to be bright so that it can overcome the effect of daylight sun. So if you're needing a spotlight for indoor work, the Luxpro LP880, let me kind of put the box up here again, is something you may want to consider. And it can also be used, of course, as a flashlight, in your ordinary work. But if you're wanting something to be that outdoor, this isn't quite there yet. Now, if you don't have to deal with 2-floor houses, this might be something that will work for you, right? But my rule is second floor dormer. If you live in an area like in Florida where you don't have a lot of 2-floor buildings and such, this might be all that you need. Right? So find out, because different parts of the country have different building codes and different standards. So pretty neat. But if it's a dark area, this illuminates pretty nicely. Again, according to the label here, 918 feet beam distance. And I have no reason to doubt that in my testing with it. Hope you found that helpful. Luxpro LP880. You could pick it up at Batteries Plus, and it may even be available in other locations. Again, I'm kind of impressed with it. It says it's waterproof, and I think that's it. Waterproof, which isn't bad, so I'm sure it's probably down to maybe a meter or so. So don't drop it in the water on purpose, but if you do, that can be a nice plus as well. Hope you found that helpful. I'm Stephen Vantassel. You've been listening to the Wildlife Control podcast. Hope you found that helpful for yourself. If you want to reach out to me, love to hear from you. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. If you have thoughts, comments, criticisms, perhaps suggestions for new shows, perhaps you have a project that you're on, you like to share that with others. We're always looking for guests to talk about various things. We think there's a lot of information in the wildlife control field that needs to be transmitted to others, and we certainly want to be part of that. Again, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Again, until next time, take care, everybody.
This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant Podcast. Vertebrate pest control is an inherently dangerous activity involving risk of bodily injury to you, others, and/or property. Vertebrate pest control also involves legal issues, so be sure to always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and/or other control methods when controlling pests. Wildlife Control Consultant LLC, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their affiliates are not responsible for your use of the information provided here. Always consult a qualified and appropriate professional before employing the information provided here.